Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we're looking at the newest single Blindfolded by the American pop rock trio Against the Current. Initially known for their YouTube covers of a variety of different songs, the band have just really been going up the rungs of the ladder with every move that they make, releasing many EPs and a couple of albums over the past number of years, and also getting involved in a couple of projects that have really helped to boost their popularity, contributing the title theme to the 2017 League of Legends World Championship, and just in January of last year they actually worked with the European division, the LEC, when they did their track Wildfire, combining their efforts, which again gave them a lot of popularity with a lot of the gaming community. But they have been fairly quiet since, and this is probably the first single we have seen since Wildfire was released in January of last year. So will this new single be struggling for direction or able to walk the path unsighted? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds. Already I'm loving this opening verse that we have got here, diamonds dripping down my throat, which sounds like a very illogical sentence to throw into a song, but one thing I do love is this idea of a kind of addiction, and it's something that's very sweet and very expensive to somebody because they're so dependent on it. So it's almost like that idea of you're so dependent on this object that it almost becomes like a diamond, and it's something that everybody effectively craves effectively. So I like the way they're using the metaphoric language to really convey that idea, the idea of addiction, and just kind of putting it in a different method and using different words to kind of show that idea. I also really do like at the opening we've got these soft keys and these kind of thumping drums from Will Ferry, and I like that it contrasts this because they are a band that blend pop rock together. They kind of dance the line between the two depending on how they feel like kind of focusing their efforts towards, and I like that they've kind of got those two elements just kind of put side by side just to show you never know which direction they're fully going to go with most of their tracks, and they're doing that through this method on this one. And one of the reasons that we're also able to really dance between the two genres is Chrissy Constanza's voice. I mean, you can see she's really able to hit these high notes, but also what she does when they bring in these rockier elements to certain tracks, she'll sort of drop her voice to a slightly deeper tone, something that like Hayley Williams tends to do quite a bit, and a variety of different female vocalists, and it's something that helps to just really dance this line, because in the high notes she has that kind of strength of somebody like Sia, who's really able to kind of show that pop influence, but also those deep tones help to kind of fit in more with the guitar and the drums, just to add those rockish elements, because if she was just singing like super high in these rocky elements, it would sound a bit disjointed. Okay, I really like that lyric as well. I need to let the fever sweat out. Their previous EP was actually titled Fever, and it was all this about this idea of infections and kind of being able to get rid of them, the infected parts of your life, being able to cut them out or sweat them out effectively. So I like they're tying back to previous material with this single. And maybe they're kind of going to continue effectively a story with if this is going to feature on an upcoming album possibly. So it's great to see them really just making these little links with previous works that the band have done.
Now I can't stand still, should be running free, and all these nightmares used to be daydreams. I've got my eyes wide open, no one.
I love that idea as well. All my daydreams used to be nightmares. All my nightmares used to be daydreams. That idea of this transition, something that used to be really good has become certainly corrupted and horrible. And we're seeing that they're doing it quite well with the way they've constructed a lot of these lyrics. There's a lot of going from good to bad, and that works because it helps to show transition. Even in the start, the idea of diamonds and then kind of needing an antidote or a quick fix. You're making this gradual transgression through each lyric to show that idea that something has gone from good to bad. And I really like the way they've structured that, because it really helps to show that what they're trying to show, that something has become worse over time. And I like that, the idea of the actual tying in with the title of the track, Run Blindfolded, you know, kind of loss of direction. Someone that becomes very dependent on something or has something like an addiction, they often can not really know what direction they're going in. And it can tie in with the idea of mental health as well. If your life becomes infected, you don't really have that direction. You lose track of where you want to be and what you're trying to do. So a lot of the lyrics, although they're not super tightly tying in with the messages that we're trying to show, some of it is a bit looser, the idea of going from good to bad. You've really got to focus on these things. But a lot of it as well is actually very accessible, like idea of running blindfolded. You can imagine that if you're running blindfolded, you have no idea where you are going. So quite smart how they've tied in some easier elements that are easy to access, but also some more difficult ones that you kind of really got to pick apart.
Reality's a bitter taste, but fantasy can be so deceiving. All my good intentions gone to waste. I'd do anything to shut out this feeling.
And one other thing I really want to touch on is Will Ferry on the drums. Now, he's someone who really kind of is, you've got to give him a lot of credit for the work he does on Against the Current's music, because he's also one of the other reasons they're able to dance between genres. And I love the work he does with the drums because his patterns are never monotonous. It's never the same thing throughout the entirety of a track, but it's never over the top. He's always in the background, really just providing a strong backbone for Chrissy to really be able to do what she wants and kind of play with the vocals. And he kind of is just there constantly. He's very solid, and he always mixes up his drum patterns, so it kind of helps to add to that rock element. He really gives them a strong flow that they're able to work off to really help them dance between these genres and just really provide a lot of strength to the track just in these mixing patterns, because you notice it but it's not overpowering to the point where it's drowning her out.
I can't go back, no, I've gone too far. I miss the way that my eyes fill with stars. Tell myself to let it go, but I don't. I wish that I could let it go.
And I like that idea there, the idea that my eyes used to fill with stars. You can no longer see effectively these starry skies, and stars are often used as a metaphoric lyric to feel like daydreamers, or the idea of goals. You've got a star, it's something you want to aim for, shoot for the stars. So again, just more lyrics of really tying in that idea, that loss of hope, because everything's building around this idea of how addiction can affect you, how it can stop you from having that direction, seeing hopes and dreams, and it's really about that infection that really just affects somebody's life and how it can really pull them apart. So I like all the lyrics in some way are really tying with different aspects of how it can affect somebody.
Now I can't stand still, should be running free. And all these nightmares used to be daydreams. I got my eyes wide open, don't wanna care about nothing. Wish I could know less, just go back to that.
And also I want to touch on Dango's guitars as well, because again that's another element that really gives it that rock feel on this track. It's just a slightly heavier guitar, but it's just kept in a really strong motion. It's just the constant punch in that constant rhythm. He's not really going all over the place. He is again just working alongside Will Ferry just to make sure that they've got a strong backbone, to making it a rock track but kind of avoiding going too heavy into the rock and keeping it very accessible to a lot of people that prefer prefer that pop rock style.
Summer, pink skies have been painted red. This is real, don't show it. I wanna run blindfolded.
And I like we've got this almost a little moment for them to have a guitar solo, for really give Daniel Go a chance to really just kind of show a bit of expression. He's been just keeping tabs on making sure that the song has a strong melody and a strong flow, and it's like, right, we know you're getting a chance to show your flair, so we're going to give you this section of the song to do it. And I quite like they've done that, and it's just really nice to see that they're really just letting these other instruments that don't get a chance to really shine too much on some of these tracks a chance to do so at some point. And again, more lyrics just really just tying together the idea of sipping and drinking, things that really just are very accessible because you can imagine it. You can imagine someone there sitting drinking. It's very easy with lyrics to access, and that's something you need in pop music. It needs to be that you can get a lot of people to understand what you're talking about or how you're trying to convey a message. So again, really smart songwriting just on the way to make it accessible to so many people. not overly keen on the harmonizer on the vocals there. I don't really think it was needed. She's already got a very strong voice, so it's a little element I'm not overly keen on. I don't think it was very, very necessary for that moment, but considering how short amount of time they've actually been using it, I can't really complain all too much.
All these nightmares used to be daydreams. I got my eyes wide open, wanna care about nothing. Wish I could ignore this.
I like that as well, the idea of got my eyes wide open but I don't care about nothing. So you can see what's going on in the world, but you really don't care. It is that idea of that you are just completely mentally and physically out of the game effectively. So just really tying it in again, and we have got this story. We started out with just the idea of just maybe like taking pills, that idea of addiction. Now you're at the point where you're wide awake and you really don't care. You've kind of fell into the depths of depression. So again, going from positive to negative, they're working their way down the scale through the song, which is really, really smart.
Just go back to like that with summer. Pink skies have been painted red. This is real, don't show it on. I'm blindfolded.
I quite like the piano at the end actually. That was quite an interesting little touch to the actual end of the track. Probably more because it just gives something a little bit different. We're really ending on this kind of softer touch after what's been quite a dark and depressing song. So nice that they kind of opened and closed with that. I think the keys at the end really just add a nice subtle touch just to round out the track, just to really taper us off like they did at the intro. A few things I really do love about this song. I love this idea of going from positive to negative. It really shows and comes through very strongly in the way they've constructed a lot of the lyrics and the progression through the track, kind of falling into the depths of despair, which is really nice to see. I also have to give some serious credit to Will and Dan. They do provide such a strong backbone on this track as they do in many others to really let Chrissy dance around and control where she wants to go with those pop and rock elements and dancing between the two, and they do get their chances to shine, which is great. I like that they acknowledge that as a band. It's a case of if you're just keeping the rhythm going throughout the track, you just really get a chance just to really shine with a very short guitar solo, but not something that's over the top and really taking you too heavily into the realms of rock, because that's what this band love to do. They love to just really dance the fine line between those two genres, and I think Chrissy's voice helps as well. She's really good at just adding those poppy elements, and there certainly is a bit of an earworm of a track. Every time it hits that chorus, you just really get hooked in just by everything. The song is constructed very well, lots of nice layering. I really can't fault this track, and if this is going to be on an upcoming album, I'm looking forward to hearing more of this, because it certainly is very strong, and I think most of the work they tend to produce does tend to have a lot of focus on the quality, and this song certainly shows that in abundance. So that will be everything for today's video, but please do let me know your thoughts. I certainly think it's a very impressive track. It is very addictive, very catchy, and there's a lot of strong elements that have been put into it, but I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, if you want to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next audio analysis.